Which Bala should I make the host?
The one without the face.
Oh,
without the video.
Okay.
I mean, you give it to anyone and I'll manage it.
Okay.
I mean, just... Okay. Vishali, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Super.
Everybody
so I think the co-host thing is basically you have to change. I mean, you have to allow co-hosting as part of the. I mean, it's possible, but it's okay. I mean, I was just trying to do that. Until then, I'll probably just keep adding people. So the co-hosting is possible, but that is something that happens at the level of, you go to the web and then do it. No, Abhi, nahi, whenever. I mean, you can do it from the web also, but then it'll start from the next meeting. So that's okay.
Yeah, no problem. I think we should start.
Yeah, let's start.
Yeah. So welcome all of you again. This is the second day of the series. And today, I guess Bala would be speaking about Kshetraya, Annamacharya and all these poets that we know of. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes.
Everybody hear me? Everybody see me? Because I can't see you because I'm using both.
Okay. Everybody can please start their cameras. It will be a much better
You can't see me clearly. No, I was just asking if you could see me, but probably you can't. Ta-ta-da.
Yeah, I can see you now.
Yeah. Huh. Oh, okay. I've realized there's a problem. Wait. Let me do one thing. Yeah. Great. Because if I look at stuff on my iPad, basically it stops and I can't see anything. So, wait a second. Yeah, super. Are you guys? Yeah, you can see me, right? Great. So let's start. What I'd start with is something from the previous place. So do you have any major comments about what we did last time? Anyone, if you wanted to share something? Anything? Huh?
I think it was an interesting session and several doubts with regards to what the ambiguity of Padams, Kritis got cleared up. So I've been always wondering as to what was the difference between a Padam and a Kriti. And that question has constantly been very interesting because Carnatic musicians call it differently, dancers call it differently. So that particular area got addressed. And certain common words which are there within the gamut of love poetry in the context of Telegu poems got addressed. So yeah, it was an interesting session.
Great.
Start our video.
Just increase the height. Super.
So we are supposed to start our videos. Okay.
Yeah, please. So
right.
I mean, your call. Yeah. Yes. So what I want to generally what we did last, but Annamaya, what we spoke about him, all of that. Then the idea of sorry, give me a second. Yes. So Alugaka, thoughts on it. So some additional thoughts on Alugaka that I had, which I said I will discuss this time. So if you actually just go back and look at the poem once, the first Pallavi speaks about, sorry, by the way, the other thing, I was just looking up, so Mani Pravalam as such by musicians is used, like I said, for any kind of combination of languages, two or more. So that is, for example, like I said, what is that? Abhayamba of Dikshidhar is in many problems in Telugu, Tamil, Sanskritam, all of that is there. So yeah, that's one thing that I want to address. Yes, so in this we see, I was reading some more about Annamaya and I found out another poem that had the idea of a tiff, which I'll also share in a bit. So one thing that I wanted to discuss about Alugaka especially, that I missed out last time, was just if we look at the poem once, the first charanam speaks about the face, the eyes, something that I was thinking about, the face, the eyes, the eyelids, and all of that. I go to the second paragraph. What does it speak about? It speaks about the bodies and, haram, tanulu haramu, amara kaugeta bigiyunchu, because whenever we speak about, a hug, a tight hug, you majorly speak about the upper body. And then we go to Chilukurati Galasi. In the terms of love making that happens, tremendous fatigue, tired, sleeping down. Somewhere, how I look at it is the idea of, it's actually it's a little difficult to probably express also. For example, what happens in classical literature is when we have people, when we have men, when we have gods, you generally have the descriptions. There's actually, just apart from the whole workshop thing, it's an observation that I wanted to make because it might be useful to some people in some sense. I mean, this is something I was looking at. So generally in all these in poetry specifically, when we are describing a male body form, you go from pada to the head. When you speak of Shiva, you speak of Vishnu, you speak of it like that. Then when you speak of the woman, you go opposite. You go from the head to the toe. And this is something I had discovered like a few 2-3 years ago, and then I had this nagging doubt of then what about Ardhanarishwara Stotra? So there, very interestingly, Shankara goes up and down and up and down and up and down. You read the poem once you go back at some point, you can see his playful working of the idiom of what to do with the poetry, keeping to the structure of describing a male body from from bottom to top, and female body from top to bottom. So he goes up and down and he's confused, and when he comes near the navel, then it changes. So you just go back and look at that poem. It's not, I don't think that's been written anywhere particularly, because I just went back and saw the poem. Probably something is written, probably something is not. So that is something. So here in Alugaka Kutami, for example, you must have heard Kshiradhi Kanyakapu. Very famous Annamaya. Kshiradhi Kanyakapu Shri Mahalakshmi Kini. That song, if you go back and read how it is structured, it's structured again from the head to toe. Like it talks about, like, very popularly, all these popular singers leave out the chest part, the breasts and all. They just jump to the legs and just go off. Like there's one charanam which speaks about the breasts and how full they are and blah, blah, blah. So there's this beautiful face, and then they say, oh, beautiful legs. They miss out this whole chunk. That paragraph is almost always not sung. But yeah, so here in Annamaya's Alugaka, you see very beautifully, I think he has very, very smartly put that. I don't think this is also not something, I could be wrong, but in a very interesting way, he has put it like that. There's the head, and then there's the body, then there's, the lying down, which is more to be grounded in that sense. So that is another idea of spatially to engage with this poem, I would think. This is something I wanted to share, which I left out. I said I will do this time, so that is this time. So that is this Alugaka, because if you see here, Kanta Haramu, Kanta and Haramu, and the breasts and hugging and tightening, embrace. Because when you think of embrace, we think of the torso more so. Sorry, more the torso. Yes. So yeah, and then yeah, this is that. Thoughts on it? Your thoughts on it? I don't know if you have anything to share. You open. Yeah.
Actually, medieval period has this concept of nakashika. So it goes from the nail to that is from the feet to the top, to the head. So in the context of Sanskrit and in the context of medieval poetry, also they go from feet to the head
Yes,
and
yes,
not
yes.
from the head to the feet. Uh, this is very
But it's also
interesting
gender specific.
observation.
Wherever I've seen
Yeah,
male
that's what
god,
I don't remember. That's
go back, go
because
back. I have read it because because it's called Padabja Shiras and Shirasa Padam or something like that. There's a term for that as well.
yeah. There is a term for that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's that. And last time I just wanted to, what I missed out that I spoke in the beginning, but I missed out to say. So I thought I'd put a picture of it. Is basically, I don't know if you haven't read, probably this is a good book to read. Probably you all could have read, would have read. There are more books that I wanted to also share over the course of the time. I'd probably share, but just for starters, I thought this I would whatever. So. Yeah, just a quick revision. Alaka is Alugaka. I can't hear you if you're speaking, but yeah, someone's speaking. I can see music
Displeasure.
on. Yes. Alaka is that. Digulu.
Torment.
Yeah, I mean, disheartened, frightened, sorry, more about Digulu Padi. I'm scared what will happen. Yeah, I should have changed the order. Like, there is this memory of me whenever I would go and visit my ophthalmologist, he would always have the same file there, and I would always by heart that list and always say it without any memory if I didn't know it. So next time I'll change the order. But anyway, so yeah, Badalika. Badalika. Lie down. I mean tiredness, sorry. Badalika Tira Pavalincho. To get rid of the tiredness, you lie down. Kanureppa is something I think you've discussed.
Eyelashes.
Eyelashes.
Yes. Kanureppa. Paluku. Paluku, I don't know if we spoke about it last time.
Talk, to talk or to mutter.
Word, Paluku, to talk, all of that. Yes. Biginchi.
Tighten.
Yes. Kaugili.
Embrace.
Savi is
Taste.
Marathi, so you'll know. Yeah. Muyyadam is something that I just added it in the list because we spoke about this. Muyyadam, Taravadam, Kanureppa Muyyaga. Yes. I can understand Vishali's abhinaya. Like, I can't hear her. She's like this.
Take them down.
Yeah. Yes. Pavalinchu is lying down. So that's done. Yes. A little bit about the script. I think we are done with the last class. I think there's no more going back. No? That's it. Everyone's clear? Great. Move on. Yeah. So generally, if you see, there is this Brahmi that we say is this big script that is there for so long, blah, blah, blah. And we speak about somewhere the Telugu and Kannada scripts, even if you see it today, they're very similar. Until a very long time, poets, songs, everything was common. Scripts, all of them were common. So basically, the Telugu Brahmi, you could say, came about the 3rd century. And by the 5th century, both, I mean, when I say Telugu Brahmi, it's also Kannada Brahmi. And they also very famously call the Telugu script as the old Kannada script. Because you started writing in Kannada more, and it just had a longer. I mean, it's basically the same Telugu script, which is also called Old Kannada script, but it's the same thing. Like if you see, zoom it. No, I can't. No. Okay, I was trying to zoom in my laptop, which is not possible. But anyway, so yeah, you have the Kadamba of there's Gupta, there's Kadamba, there's Grantha, and within that. Grantham, if you see, for example, even as early as like my grandmother's mother, all of them, they would read the Grantha script. Grantha script is more in particularly for these Sanskrit words that are there because Tamil as a language, for if you see ka, ka, ga, ga, everything is just one alphabet. So you couldn't actually recite Sanskrit shlokas, which is why there is Grantha.
But now they number it, right? They number it 1, 2, 3.
To
4.
read these days, yes. But
Yeah.
in the Grantha script, they have different things. So the script is different. So basically, my grandmother, they're like 1920s, 1910s, when women were educated few women who just got some, yeah, sorry. So when they so they would read at home the Grantha script. So that is something about the script. And for example, when did this split happen between the Kannada and Telugu? It's about the 12th and 13th centuries. But for about 1,000 years, so to say, for about 1,000 years, nearly both of them had the same thing. And for example, you see a Kannada inscription, Telugu inscription, you can't actually differentiate, like the Chalukyas, the Satavahanas, all of them. It sounds it looks very, very similar. And if you had to pinpoint particularly when it happened, to say with precision that this is a Telugu script, like total, it's about the sixth century, 575 types. So that was where it was made. But even then, there was a lot of Prakrit. There was also Sanskrit in it. I mean, it hadn't developed as a major thing by then, because it was all called Prakrit. Then they say Dravida Nadu, Dravida Desham. They say Andhra Bhasha. Then they say Telugu. All these varied words. Like you have a Telangana Andhra. This fight has been going politically incorrect. This fight has been going forever. Like Andhra is always the region and Telugu is always the language, they say. And Telugu, for example, also from somewhere comes from the idea of 10. 10 is again in Tamil, in old Tamil, it is Tennad is south.
Oh.
So Tenkasi, for example, like you have all these what do you call, what is Tenkasi? I think Rameshwaram, the southern Kashi. I mean, so things like you have a ten in front of anything that is south. For example, the Vaishnavas have two sects within them. One is called the northern sect and the southern sect. So the northern sect would read Vedas in Sanskrit, and the southern sect would read the same Vedas in Tamil. So they were called Vadagalai, Tengalai. Kalai is a combination, I mean, a sect of people. So Vadanadu is anything that's north. Ten is south. So they also say the etymology of the word mostly is from that word, the root Dravidian word. Because, for example, there's so many, you could also read this book by Dave Sharma about Tamil. Like there's so many words, you always think Sanskrit is the mother of all languages and all of that, and from there everything else came. But there are also languages that Sanskrit had loaned from the Dravidian languages. And there have been cases of usages of words much before in the southern languages than in Sanskrit. For example, Mayura, as we know today, this is also going off topic, not exactly Telugu, but Mayura, if you say, it is actually from the word Mail, which was spoken in South. So Mail to Mayura has happened. And there are few words. I mean, and the thing is, these are all things that we can guess because we just found a word Mail earliest South. Suddenly, if there's an inscription, these things would change, but to the current knowledge that we have, it is that. For example, I'll just probably also so that's basically the script, so to say. Also, for example, if you actually have to trace, I could also write it down. I'm just trying to see if I can write it. Zoom. I also want to use this. Oh, I can't share. Okay, great. Okay. I just wanted to quickly write the script down, but it's okay. I will skip that part because I'm sharing and I can't share and scribble at the same time. I realize. So I just show you the picture. For example, if you see this carefully, if you see, just look at the R here. Are you able to see it? Or should I probably zoom it? I'll just zoom it in some sense. Yeah. Let's just look at A. So this is the Brahmi A, which is common, pretty common. Like when you actually trace back Tamil A, there is one link to this when you have. So slowly, now he says, there's this Pallavula Kalamlo, Guptula Kalam. So the ska that was there, then Shatavahana A was this. Ikshwaku Kalapu A is this. And Gupta's Ka, was, I was saying Ka, sorry, Yeah. And there's Pallava, which is a little bit more complicated. I think Pallava is very smart, like very artistic, like that. Look at their Like, until then, it is very simple. After that, it's also probably very simple. But there, it is like crazily like curvy and more beautiful. And this is where the kind of Telugu and Kannada lipi, I mean, we are still talking about the same kind of a lipi even here by the 7th century. And here by the 10th century also it is pretty similar. And this is where it tries to bridge, not bridge, what do you say? It tries to bifurcate. So this becomes the kind of in the 11th century. That is the period when also Nannaya first wrote something. It's called the Andhra Mahabharatam. So that was there. And then slowly after that, the idea is very similar. Matlab, it hasn't changed very much. And by around the 16th century, when the time of Annamaya and all came, from then on, it's been very similar. Which is why even when you go now and read the Talapaka manuscripts, there is some similarity. If you actually, there were these manuscripts that were found out in the 1800s, late 1800s. By Ellis Campbell. So you can still read those manuscripts in some sense, you know. But if you actually look at a Brahmi of Ashoka, it looks, the first time you look at it, you're like, I need someone to read it for me. But these things are much more simpler when you see and read Anmaya pieces. So let me unzoom it for you. Okay, it's not too far away. Okay. So similarly, if you wanted to just spend a little while on it, I mean, you can also figure out, I mean, if you go to there are these museums, for example, Madurai has this Tamil museum. It has this beautiful collection of how Tamil came from this southern Brahmi, and then each letter for each period like this, very particularly, and probably why would it have happened, all of that. And also the place that you get all these things changes is majorly the coins. When you look at the coins, inscriptions, that is where you see these small changes, because every new king would give a new coin, new kind of thing. So it's also connected to all of this coins, the stamps, I mean the Raja Mudras, all of that, because it was not so much written that was there. Most of these are inscriptions. And where do you find such inscriptions? You find it, you know, in these temples when they give grants, like on all these old temples. If you go, even today in Srirangam, in Tirupati, in Tanjavur Big Temple, in Kalahasti, in Guntur, there is Draksha Ramam temple. I mean, you can just, I'm just giving too many jargon, I think. But basically, if you go to all of these temples, you find these big things and written mostly in Brahmi and older scripts. And then with the kind of usage of, and again, all of these are palimpsest kind of a thing. So I build it, another king comes, build something else over it, build something over it, build something over it. So you also don't know who built what. I mean, you kind of know who built what, but how do you know who built what? Is again, you go back to the inscription of these inscriptions and see what is the script they've used. The script belongs to which century, then you say they belong to this century. So it's a very interesting science. Like this is there in the, I mean, it's for example, when Devadasis are given away to temples, that is written, for example, or the Devadasis give to temple, because many of these Devadasis were also very rich, and they would donate like lands and lands of to the temple. So their grants also would be etched in the temple walls, saying this Devadasi, this daughter of so and so, mother of so and so, whatever. So matrilineal stuff, and then saying they gifted so much. And with that script, you actually go back to say probably it was in this century, which is why the inscriptions are very useful to date, and also to just, I mean, read different types of things from different periods of time. Oof, okay, I think I should move on. Yeah. So poetry. So I just wanted to quickly read out something from, I don't know how many of you have heard the book called the Vishnu Dharmottara Purana.
Yeah.
You must have heard. Okay. Then, so basically, there's a beautiful conversation between Vajra and Markandeya. So Vajra says, "Oh, I wish to learn sculpture. If you know it, then I'll probably skip it. Probably everyone knows, no, all dance students."
Some might not know, those who are a bit young.
Okay.
So
Okay. So basically, in short, Vajra is this king and Markandeya is a sage, and he asks, I want to learn sculpture. And he says, you have to know painting to know sculpture. And basically, it's like this dwindling down thing. From painting, you have to know dance to know painting. Then for dance, then you have to know instrumental music. Then they say for instrumental music, you have to know music. Then for music, you need to know poetry, language, blah, blah, blah. So it's a very interesting conversation about why poetry is useful for anyone or everyone for that matter, because it is at the heart of, it's at the core of everything. But there are also these conversations that I have when we collaborate with people, imagining what would have come first. For example, if a poet is composing, is he co-composing with the dancer? Is he co-composing with the musician? Or is the poet, because everyone, all of these people are Vak Geyakara. Because at that instant, the Vak and the Gayam come together. And for us, 500,000 years later, to access that movement of that composer itself is very performative. You know, when you go back and, but you can always imagine, for example, like these poets as Padmavati and, let me close it. As Padmavati and Jayadeva, you can always imagine these poets living in quite close quarters with dancers, engaging, and there must have been a lot of give and take. For example, you hear about it from Jayadeva, Padmavati, you hear about it from the times of Dikshitar's father, who has written so many Varnams for the Devadasis. At some point, there are also stories of how they have saved him from penury, donating a gold bangle, and his home was fed because of Devadasi was a student of Dikshitar. So it was all give and take, and I'm sure there's a lot of inspiration like each caught from the other. So I don't know why I started this, but anyway, so that's that. Now that's the poetry. In terms of how each of it gives to another. You never know, but at the core of it, I think language is very, very important. All these poets, even though they compose, some of them composed in some Telegu, they had very good knowledge of Kavya, of literature, of Sanskrit, of everything. And then it is their option of how, for example, you can't understand Diksha very easily, but you can understand a Tyagaraja very easily. But they both understood it very well. It's us who have to do different things to understand each of them. So, yeah, I mean, so that's that. Now, talking about poetry, when I started writing, thinking of what to say, there is a lot to say. So I'll probably just quickly, should I admit it? Oh, sorry, yes. Now I know who comes late. Anyway, so, instead of going to, because if we start talking about poets, there'll be like 4 or 5 classes just talking about poets and how they've contributed so much. I thought I'll just begin, I'll do the start and then I will continue with Kshetriya, for example, because yeah, there is the idea of Kavitraya. As Indians, we are very obsessed with the idea of threes, and even, I mean, the ghost and the holy, they're also obsessed with the threes. But Kavitraya is this interesting 3 people for a specific reason. There is Nannaya, there is Tikkana, and Yerra Pragada. Let me quickly, actually, if someone's come, I can make them, instead of me adding people, someone said, okay, great. Sorry. Yes. So Nannaya was one of the first Telugu poets who has written extensively. He is probably the first, we'll say, like you have like, who do you call Adi Kavi in Sanskritam? Question mark. Like Adi Kavi in Sanskritam is
Kalidasa, na?
Adi Kavi is Kalidasa or Valmiki? Adi Kavya, Adi Kavi, I think it's Valmiki.
No, Valmiki.
Panini is the grammarian, no? Sorry, come again?
No, Valmiki, I said.
So I think it's Valmiki. But so similarly, in Telugu, the Adi Kavi is attributed to Nannaya around the 11th century. And why is he the Adi Kavi? Also because the first person to write anything, and until then there were also sensibilities, very Sanskritic sensibilities with people. But with Nannaya, is the first time he clearly knew what he was doing. It was Telugu. Like, when someone composes and you hear it in your own language, you know it is yours. When other people do it, you don't, like, it's just, you can't say it out but it's that, you clearly know it is a very, very Telugu identity. The first people, and also he's the one who's supposed to have started the retelling of Mahabharata. So he says Andhra Mahabharatam. So he, because again, he was one of the first one, there was a lot of Sanskrit in it, but it was still Telugu. There was equal interspersing of Sanskritam and Telugu in it. Because before him, there were only, what we hear of is just inscriptions of Telugu. And it was peppered with a lot of Prakritam and all of that. But Nannaya, we can very clearly say that is where it started. So the Telugu literally civilization, you can say, started with him. Yes, there were poets before him, but we don't have enough of there to even comment. So he's supposed to be this person.
Which century are we talking about?
11th, 10th and 11th. Because they also say he had a lot to do with, he was also aware of a lot of these traditions, Tamil traditions, because from the 6th to 9th is when you have all these Nayanmars and Arvars, the Shaivite and Vaishnavite saints who wrote so much, excessively. So in his writing, he has also acknowledged the traditions, poetic traditions of his south. They say his Telugu. And there's this interesting place where he also speaks about what he's writing. I'll quickly read it. Have I written it here? Okay, and I'll quickly give another nugget here about Nannaya, Tikkana, and Erra Pragada. All these three, across 3-4 centuries, have completed the Andhra Mahabharatam. So Nannaya started the Mahabharatam. Mahabharatam is again of 18 parvas. So when he was writing the third parva, he passed away. And then it took about 100 years, 150 years for another person, Tikkana, to come. And he started from the 4th and finished until the 18th. Because it was also said that if someone dies, passes away when doing a composition, it is inauspicious to continue that composition, that piece. So no one touched it for about 300 years. Then again, it had to be another Erra Pragada about 300 years later who came and finished it. And I also checked, he had like a good life. Nothing happened to him. So he again finished so it took about 300-400 years to kind of finish the Andhra Mahabharatam by 3 people. And it was varying in styles. For example, if you start off, Nannaya very Sanskritized. Also because of the first one, you will have the hangover of what has happened. Whereas by the time it came up to Tikkana, it was extremely oral, much more Telugu, lesser Sanskrit. And Erra Pragada wanted to kind of be good to both of them, and his style is in between, so to say, in this particular poem. Because he was also doing the transition of the Aranya Kanda. He was writing the third half, say later, he was writing, so that it will easily lead up to Tikkana's Andhra Mahabharata. So that is that. Nannaya. So I'll briefly speak about Nannaya. I'm not in this. Okay. I'll put into the. Yeah. Yes. So it says Saramatin. I wanted to read a few poetry so that you get the ring of the language, because that I think is very important as well. So he's also one of the first persons who says in third person, like, from Lucknow, hum aap khane aa rahe hain kya, hum khane ja rahe hain types. So he also says something similarly. He says Saramatin Kavindrulu. Saramatin Kavindrulu Prasanna Katha Kalitartha Yuktilo Narasimelu Nan Itarula Aksharamyata Itarula Akshara. Here if you see Itarula, where is that? Melunan Itarula Akshara Ramyata. Itarula. So, but when it becomes a complex word, even in Telugu, he used similar things as in Sanskrit, where you use this complex word. Yuktilo Narasi, like here in the previous line, Yuktilo Narasi. Yuktilo Narasi Melunan Itaru. Melunan Itaru Lakshara Ramyata. Melunan Itarula Akshara Ramyata. Ramyatan Adarimpa. Ramyata in Adarimpa. Na Ruchi. Ruchi again is Ruchi. It's the same. I mean, so you'll find a lot of peppering of these Sanskrit words. Arashimelu nan itaru lakshara ramyata adarimpanana ruchirartha sukthi nidhi nannayya bhattu tenungunan mahabharata samhita rachana bandhurudaye jagadhitambugan, he says. So what is he saying? Very beautifully he says, Nannaya, it is in the process of his writing. First he says, oh, Shri and Vani and the daughter of Himalayas, he uses some word for that. Shri Vani and Girija. Shri Vani and Girija. And he goes on to say, I pray to these three women and their husbands, Vishnu, he says all of that. Then he says, what is it about? So he says, I became absorbed in composing in Telegu. For example, at his time, it was still called Telegu. It was not Telugu or anything. So you see that Ten, that is the word from where we get that. Telegu, the whole Mahabharata collection, which comes in the third line. Nannaya Bhattu, he was called Nannaya Bhatt. Tenungunan Mahabharata Samhita Rachana. He says, his care. So now he says what is important in poetry, because he was the first one to say it. He was the grammarian, he was the Panini of Telugu, for example. So he was writing about what is to be written. So he says, carefully uttered words glow with multiple meanings. When he says carefully, actually the meaning is also like the care. It's a careful translation, like a very, because he's also translating Mahabharatam. So for 300, 400 years, people just did that. They translate Mahabharatam, Ramayanam, all of that. They just, because most of these, even in Tamil, Telugu, in any languages, when you see the initial thing, it's all retelling. I have a problem with translation because it's not translation, because he has used his own stories. Like some stories are different. The whole idea is same. This happened, war happened, blah, blah, blah. But then there are Telugu characters, there this and that, the surroundings of Telugu, he changes stuff. For example, in Kamba Ramayanam, Kamban would have used interesting things. Like he says, Aro Ivararo, like he imagines a time when Sita meets Rama and says, Rama's meeting this beautiful sculpture and he's thinking, who's this lady? And suddenly the sculpture blinks and he's like, oh God, was I looking at this woman all this long? He gets very ashamed. So this is not in Valmiki Ramayana. I mean, so he has added his own thing. So it's not literally a translation, it's a kind of retelling of the same story. So he says, carefully uttered words glow with multiple meanings. Poets with penetrating minds follow the lively narrative through its inner purpose, while others give themselves to the harmony of sound. So he says very clearly the poetic narrative that he is wanting to express is that it should be clear, it should be pleasing. Ramyata, Akshara Ramyata, he says. Akshara Ramyata. And then he says uninterrupted. But at the same time, it's also allows them to hear and reflect on this poetry, not only of the poet's idea. So you're also able to enjoy it. That's what he says about poetry. So it's one of the first time there is someone in Telugu who is basically saying this is what a poem should be like. Poets with penetrating minds, and lively narrative with inner purpose, the harmony on sounds which was at Akshara Ramyata, and blah blah blah. So also when you hear this, like Saramatin Gavindrulu Prasanna Kada Kavitartha Yuktilon Arasi Melunan Itaru Lakshara Ramyatanu Adarimpa, you have to respect that idea of it. Adar karte hain, same thing. So you see there's a peppering of Sanskrit words here and there. You still can understand the idea of it because it is still Nannaya. So there's a lot of Sanskrit. But yeah, so that's, I think I can go on about it, but I think I'll stop. So that's Nannaya. There's another beautiful, this is one of my favorites of Nannaya.
Bala,
I mean, sorry.
can we have the English part written of
Yes,
the
I
Telugu
will do
lyrics?
that. Yeah. Yes, let me quickly get it for you then. I have it, but there's no space to put everything because I wanted you to get, yeah, let me, yeah. What's happening in the chat? I saw 2 messages, but I'm not looking at it. Should I look at it?
It's the same that I said right now.
Okay. So give me a minute. Also, I forgot to say the other thing. You can actually, let me do that. There's no space, no? So I will just, for example, this. Yo. I apologize, but can you see it? Saramatin Gavindrulu Pasanna Katha Kalithartha Yuktilo Narasi Meluna Nitarulakshara Ramyata Adarimpa Nana Ruchirartha Sukti Nidhi Nannaya Bhattu Tenungunan Mahabharata Samhita Rachana Banduruddaye Jagaddigambugan, he says. So here if you see Sara, Ara is one idea, but then there is, so here the breaking is very important. So Ruchirartha, Chirartha would come there. When I copied, I didn't copy that exactly. And Bhara will come there. Like if you see it in Telegu, see it. There's Ra. This is Ra, the Akshara Ra. I will see it. And that comes here. Because there is, the words are continuing. For example, Lo, Na, Lon, RSE, Lon, RSE. But because the Ra should come here, it comes here, the second. So this is also Dvitiya Akshara Rasa. Na, Ru. This is Ra again. Bhara. This is again Ra. Whereas in English, it's a little difficult to get it, but this is what the idea is. So let me get the other one as well then. Give me a second. Yeah. Yeah. I'll also yes. So this was what was Nannaya's style. I'll quickly finish off Nannaya now. I mean, not finish off, but finish off talking about Nannaya. So, so this was his last song, last poem of the Mahabharata, of the Aranya Kanda. It's a very poignant poem also, but also it's a very beautiful expression of poetry here. He says, Sharada Ratrul Ujjvala Lasattaratara Kahara Panktulanjaru Tarambulaye Vikasannava Kairava Ganda Bandhurodara Samira Saurava Mudalsi Sudhamshu Vikiryamana Karpura Paraga Pandu Ruchipura Mulan Paripuri Tambulai. He says. All of these, when you hear it, you sense admit. So Sharada Ratrul Ujjvala Lasattaratara Kahara Panktulanjar Jarutara. Oh God. I knew to say it a little before, but yeah. Okay, I'll say it. Yeah, so basically when you see here, there's little to read about it. When you hear the poem, when they say it, when you can imagine how they would recite it, because there is also this when you hear it. For example, Sharada Ratrul Ujjvala Lasattara Tara Kahara Panktulanjaru Tarambul Ayye Vikasannava Kairava Ganda Bandurodara Samira Saurabhamudalchi Sudhamshu Vikiryamana Karpura Paraga Pandu Ruchipura Mulan Paripuri Tambulai. He says. It says, autumn nights under the glowing canopy of stars, dense with the wind-borne fragrance of unfolding water lilies, flooded with light, white as camphor, flowing down from the moon. It is one reading of it. He also says in the previous saying, with multiple meanings. So this also has little multiple meaning here. When you talk about the whole idea of here, Ruchi, Puramulambari, Puri Tambulai. So it also can be read as Puramul Ambara Puri Tambulai. Ambara, like like the break of the word can also be there. For example, the first time you're breaking it, Puramulan Puri Tambulai. You can also break it in a different sense, saying wait. Hello?
Yes, you can be heard now.
You can hear me? Oh, lovely. Great. No, the power went off, so I was just a little scared. So the fan went off. I was like, I could see you moving, but I couldn't. Anyway, so sorry, where did I go? So here, where did I lose? Where did you lose me?
The division of the words.
Ha.
Puramulan Paripuram.
Puramulan Paripuritamulai is one. Puramul Ambara Paripuritamulai is another reading of the same thing. But actually, you go on extend the idea of the same thing. Where I say Ambara in Sanskrit also means Ambara, Akasha, sky. So he says, flooded with light, white as camphor, flowing down from the moon and filled with the sky. The light is filled with sky, he says. I mean, when you imagine this white light coming from the moon filled, I mean, there's so many allegories to it. Then there's another tradition in Telegu poetry to interpret it in even more detail. So they say, instead of Paripuri Tambulai, you could also read it as Parapuri Tambulai. Now, para in Sanskrit means other. Purti also means to finish, right? So in some sense, it's also again, it's all something that people have said after him. You never know what he actually thought when he wrote this. So Parapuri Tambulai. So it was his last song, and they say it is going to be finished. He said in his own poem that someone else is going to finish it. Parapuri Tambulai. So, like you have these stories with any number of people. Like you have Tansin, you have Tyagaraja, you say Dikshita sang Meenakshi, Memudam, and said another that Anupallavi of that, saying that he asked his students to sing it over and over again. So, I mean, Papa Shamani and that whole idea. Anyway, so you have even a Nannaya speak and sing like that. So yeah, God, we have come to Annamaya finally. Ta-da. But there's so many people from Nannaya to Annamaya. Nanna, Anna. Prasam. See? Okay. So you have Annamaya. Like there is Nannaya, Tikkana, then there's so many other people, Yerra Pragada, all in between these the Kavi Traya, there are like 5-6 people. Then there's Palikuri Somanatha. Until Annamaya comes, there's so many people. Then Annamaya ke baad bhi there's so many people. But I thought, because Abhi, what's the time? Great. Bala, I'm so good on time. Is it actually 3:50? Shit. I think at 3:30, as someone has just put in the, I thought it'd be 3:30, but okay. Okay. Now I'm just giving you an example. I think you can all read this. Read it at your own pace. It's called Talupu Kamarutatvam. Talapu Kamarutatvam. Yeah, if you have read it, there's something I was reading later, and I found there's so much similarity to the idea of Alugaka also, because he says he especially likes to quarrel, love after. He especially likes love after quarrels. That's why at times he turns his face away. In Alugaka, it starts off with that. You are that person who thinks Alugaka Kutami, who thinks love making after a quarrel is tasty. Savi. And here Annamaya, same Annamaya. I'm just giving you another counter example of, that it is there in another sense, another, setting. For example, here it's a Polai Aluka Kutambu. So the word that is used is also Aluka, the same thing. Polai Aluka Kutambu. Aluka Kutambu Kutami. I'm saying the thing is, if you have these 3-4 words, again and again, if you actually go back to it, it is similar usage, because they were also people who had baggage of their experiences. So eventually, Annamaya would say, Aluga is Aluga, Kutami is Kutami. So, I mean, it's just to highlight that bit. Oh God, okay. Let's do this. Words of today. I wanted to also bring in some idea of relationships. Not relationships as such relationships, but relations rather. So, Adadi.
Ade is
Sing.
Pade is sing in Tamil, right?
Oh.
Ade is to dance. So is it related to
Adedi is dance, correct? Pade, no, Padradhu, yes. But Adadi is specifically a woman.
Hmm.
Aadabidda. When they say when a child is born, they'll say Aadabidda puttindi. Magabidda is Mulga. Maga, Mulga, all of that. But then it's not Mulgi, but it's Aada.
Hmm.
But so Aadabidda. Aadadi is that lady. It's also a little less respectful. Aadadi is Aadadi. Aadadi के अंतर सो आड़दी के अंतर सो उस बंदी को क्या पता टाइप
औरत वो औरत
वो
like
औरत
saying
हाँ टाइप्स हाँ मर्द औरत level that is हाँ so आड़दी is that no but Kshetriya was extremely local for all the felicity and all the fanciness of Annamaya. Kshetriya is extremely local because also his experiences stem out of these people. I mean, he's living with the people. For example, Tyagaraja's words are very local because he was steeped in the locality of it. Whereas Dikshidhar could never, you can't imagine a Dikshidhar to write something like that because he was always like there, like Sanskrit only, this only, that only. Tyagaraja like anything. Like you have so many instances of Tyagaraja using these words. For example, if you say karobar in Hindi, right? Karobar karna, all that. So by then you also had all these Nizam rulers in the area of Andhra. That has very easily crept in. So in Telegu, karubaru is a word in the dictionary. Karubaru, seyuvaru. Karubaru, seyuvaru in Mukhari is a Tyagaraja composition. So he says karubaru, seyuvaru. You can't imagine Dikshidhar to do it. I'm just saying. For example, Kshetriya and Annamaya are like that. Like he would use a word like Adadi. I mean, Annamaya could have used. I'm not saying with conviction that he hasn't, but I'm just Mogudu.
husband.
Yes. Sarangapani, Mogudu. There's also an equivalent Tamil padam in Shahana that says the same thing.
Oh.
Kanavan Ennai Aikiran, Mogodochi Pilachedu. Same thing, but written afterwards.
Who's the composer of that one?
It's one of these Ganam Krishna or one of these Tamil composers. It came about 100 years after Mogodochi. So it's obviously inspired, I think, from there.
Oh.
Kanavan Varigindran Tori something. I'll get you the composer. It's some Ganam Krishna or one of those people. Atta. Yes, you're correct, Vishali. Your eyes are saying it right. I can only see 4 people, so let me see more people.
So I was saying Marathi Atta.
What is it? Atta.
No.
Think a little more. No. Think a little more. Atta, Atya, like think Atya.
Attai, like Atya.
Wow. Okay.
But here in this case, it's also a little more than that. Are you able to see the screen fully? Because I have my screen of looking at you people. So, okay, fine. So, Atya, Atta is generally your father's sister.
Okay.
Okay, in Marathi also is the same, no?
Atya Mausi.
So yeah. So here it's a little ahead of that. There are 2 meanings. For example, even your sas is also called Atta because then it was all this Mama's daughter, whatever. That idea. So Mavagaru also has 2 connotations. One is your mother's brother, and one is your father-in-law.
And what is Garu exactly? Because all
Garu
the
is
Telugu
basically
people.
G.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Garu is G. Annamaya Garu. When you go all these, formal occasions, they'll say ye Garu. It just goes on like.
But does this
South
word
India,
come
no,
in?
G.
Does this word come in? Does this word come during Kshetriya's or Annamaya's time?
No. It's just for us to. That's why I put a slash saying Mama, but Mama Garu is what you hear nowadays. Mama Garu Chepparu. Because also when it becomes the father-in-law, you have the Garu added to it. Atta Garu, Mama Garu. It's more to the mother-in-law or father-in-law. Whereas if you say Atya or Mama, you don't say Atta Garu for that. You don't say Atya Ji because Atya is very close like that. But you have to say Atya Ji if it is that Atya who's your husband's mother. That idea. But they won't say, like Kshetriya again, for example, his tone is extremely Devadasi. So he wouldn't say Mama Garu, he say Mama, Atta, because they would speak like that. Baba. Baba is not your Bombay Baba, but Baba is brother-in-law, who is
Okay.
generally the elder brother-in-law. Marathi is also brother-in-law, the younger one generally.
So Bhava is brother in Marathi. I was trying to guess that.
Oh bhau, ha.
Bhava,
Bhau,
Bhava.
ha.
Arey
But this is
Bhava.
not, there's not prana, there's not aspirate, it's bhava. Ba. Pa, ba. It's that ba. Then
So
Marathi
would
is
it be
also,
right to say Telugu also doesn't have bha?
it has.
Oh, it has, right.
This word, like bhava is this, bhayam is bha.
Which is not there in Tamil.
Tamil, this is particularly it does not have it, but it is there in speech. Like, for example, if you see it written somewhere, it is basically, it's a running joke when you say Kogul, but it's actually Gokul. Gokul can be read as Kogul. Kogul is the worst it can become because the one, both are wrong. So it's called a Kogul joke. So Gokul can be read as Kogul. So, I mean, but there are specific rules on how to read. Because unless you read all those rules, then you read it, it's correct. I mean, it is then correct. But if you just know the script, you can't win over the language like that. That's all. So it has its own. But also, it's a previous language. By then, they were like, oh, one is enough. We don't need four things. So, yeah, whatever. So Marathi is also the same thing, but generally the younger one, Marathi.
Okay.
Konda.
Konda in Tamil is love, but in Konda, right?
Konda in Tamil is not love, yeah. Kondain, Kadal Kondain is I got love, like I felt love.
Okay.
Kondain is, there's this movie called Kadal
The
Kondain.
original word is what? Kondi.
Kondain is
Not Konda.
Kolradu is to art kolradu, to what do you say? Art kolla is to capture. Kondain.
Okay.
Gangai Konda Cholapuram. There's a place also, Gangai Konda Cholapuram, that area that was conded, I mean, that was captured by this Chola king. Gangai Konda Cholapuram. It's a place. So Konda is that. Kondain, Kadal Kondain, that, I mean, captured like this by love. But this Konda is Hanamakonda, Golkonda, is that
Like
Konda.
Puram.
It's a hill. Hanmakonda, Golkonda, this Konda, that Konda. Konda. But generally anything that becomes a hill, matlab mountain like. Paita Kongu.
Is that shawl is taken? Shawl, basically.
Shawl, no, it's not shawl exactly. What is Paita in Marathi?
Is it related to Paithani?
It's basically sari related, basically the pallu of the sari. There is Abhang also, no? What is that? I forgot. Anyway, check it. So Paita Kongu is literally the pallu of the sari. And then there's Ravatam, is to come. Ana.
Bala, are you speaking?
I think, yeah, the speaker is, you are on mute, I think. You're not audible.
Maybe he has connection problem at home. No, Bala, you can't be heard.
No, you are not heard.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Just this thing is giving away. That's okay. So yeah, because I could see I move and I'm like, what is this? Anyway, so you were saying something, Vishali. Kapuram. Hmm?
Camphor? No.
No, that is Kapuram.
Ah.
Kapur, Karpur.
This word
Kapuram is,
comes in
sorry?
Javali, right? Kapuramai something something.
Kapuram is basically your familial life, household, family. The whole Grihastha's idea of Kapuram. It's Kapuram. Okay, I think I should quickly go. I think we'll speak about Kshetriya later. We'll probably go off. So Kshetriya, one of the earliest places where we find Kshetriya's idea, Kshetriya's work. Are you able to hear and see me well? Then I'll just speak through this. I'll just chuck the idea of that other device. Okay, great. I don't know why I thought it was a great idea in my head, but surely it is not. Okay, so Kshetriya, one of the first places you see Kshetriya being said is spoken about is apart from some Telugu scripts, musically where you see him is this place, Sangeeta Sampradaya Pradarshini. This is one of the first manuscripts written by Dikshita's grandson, Subramanya Dikshita, in 1904. He wanted to write more other pieces, but this is all he could do. But by then, after that, he passed away. So this is where we hear of him. I'll probably speak about some history of Kshetriya in the next class. I'll probably go off to the Padam. Yeah, is that all right with you guys? There's... Yes, no? I can't hear it. I can't see also.
Yes,
Yes?
we can go. Yes, we can go to the Padam.
Yes. Great. So here we're talking about Chudare. I don't think I included that in the list. Chudare is to just see. Chudare adi nadiche hoyalu. So what is, so they think of Kshetriya, what has he given us in terms of, so he's the first one to kind of give us the idea of the Anupallavi. So additionally, to add to what someone asked last class about how do you identify, generally the additional idea of Anupallavi is the prasa is the same as the Pallavi of the Anupallavi. So you have Chuda, you have Ada. Chudare adi nadiche hoyalu, Adadi kulakanta. So there is this idea of prasam in the Pallavi and Anupallavi. If you pick up another Tyagaraja Kriti, you will generally find it. There's a prasa between the Pallavi and the Anupallavi. So that is another identification. So what do you think about, what is Chudare ideally? Then this whole Padam is again where basically there's this woman, you can say Abhisharika, who's going out, and there's this other husband, there's this other man who's basically Muva Gopala, and these other women are talking, gossiping about this woman, saying, look at that, the way she walks, the way she's going. She just goes off early in the morning to meet this man of her, to meet her beloved, and she belongs to this big family, and she has a big, like a palanquin to go here and there, but her husband is this, her husband is that. What more does she want? But if this is what is written in her, fate, this is what she'll do. And then goes on to say, so this is the idea of Chudare generally, like this is the Padam basically. Now if we take the Pallavi, it says Chudare is to see. Adi is that woman. Nadiche, Nada, Nadiche di, Nadaka, all of these attribute to anything that is to do with walking. Nadiche, Kari, Kar, in terms of how she is walking. Hoyalu is, it's a very south term, I think. Hoyalu is, you have these in other padams in Javali also. It's just that, how do you say? There's a style about it. The oomph factor kind of a thing. Sudati is also again
So it's like Ada.
Ada, yes. Sorry, because I'm in this mode of
थोड़ा ठुमकत जाते अशा अर्थी आहे का? Like
yeah,
she's going
exactly.
her own way.
ठुमक के चल रही.
हाँ.
Ha, Tumak,
He's not
Tumak. Ha,
confident.
that only. Hoyalu. Hoyalu mere vidilo na 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 na. There's that song also, no? Hoyalu mere is like with beyond bounds also, in the sense of Utna Sara. So Hoyal is generally translated to other style, whatever. I will see it because, huh? Yes, I just, that is Hoyalu. Then I speak, then she says Sudati.
So
Sudati,
sorry,
woman.
just to interrupt.
Yes.
So in Tamil, that is Kulukku Melukku, is it?
Ha, Kuluk Melik, ha, Kuluk
Right,
Koda. Kuluk,
right,
yeah, there's also Padams in that, Bala
right.
beautifully. Like, people would say how she would dance. I mean, there's this thing, she was one of those only women dancers at the academy who'd have this hanging mic. It'll drop. And then she would sing as she would dance. And she's also the only dancer to have got Sangeeta Kalanidhi, the musicians thing. In a family, there are about 8, 9 people, like Brinda, there is Balamma, there's all of these people, like Shankaran. And so, yeah. Actually, the other thing I found out, I was reading, so the idea that I last time said about hearing the dance and seeing the music was first given by Shankaran. It's just being used and then used by a lot of people today. But first time I saw it documented is by T. Shankaran, who's also from the Tanjavur Vinay Dhanamal family. He would sing so beautifully. He would sing padams and also beautifully. So yeah, fish digression cut. Sudati. Sudati is that woman. Sayu is sayu is to do. Cheyadam in Telugu, for example, also. Seyu, Adi Seyu, Jadalu. It's also Tamil. Jadaigal, Jadalu. Whereas if you say Juda is to see, Jada is the other end of doing the signs. Juda is to see. Jada is the sign. And then you go on to say Anupallavi. So you see Chuda, Ada. Yeah. So that is the other way to find out. Let me think of some Tyagaraja Mokshamugalada Sakshatkarani. Mokshamugalada Sakshat. Ksha. I mean, you will find it all Pallavi Anupalli, mostly. I don't know if there's any what is that called? Out of the rule, whatever, exception. But there could be. But generally it's followed. Yeah. Adadi is that woman. Kula Kanta. She's that, Kulam is Kulam, like good family. Kula. Kanta is a very, bright, like a good family. Kula Kantudayini Adadi. Kula Kanta. Attinti Kodalu. Atta. Here again is mother-in-law. Atta Inti. Illu is again, Illu means a house. Atta Inti. Mother-in-law's house. Inti, Illu, Illal. Illal is also a Tamil word saying she is the owner of the house. There's also the saying in Tamil which says, Illai என்று சொல்லாதவள் எவளோ அவள்தான் Illal. Basically, Illai in Tamil, it's a play of word also. Illai generally say, Illai is no in Tamil. So the woman who says, Illai, who never says no is Illal. I mean, illai alladhaval. There is no illai for her. Like you ask her anything, you would get that food or whatever. But anyway, illu is house. Kodalu. Kodalu is daughter-in-law. And then ala Gopaluni. Gopaluni. That Gopaluni. Vididiki. Vididiki is also the place where they stay. Vedaledi is to go, for example. Vedalina, you find the word Vedalina a lot here and there in these compositions. And she goes on the way. So basically, he says from this big family, from that mother-in-law's house, she's the daughter-in-law of that big mother from that mother-in-law's house, and she just goes off to this house of Gopala. Is what the Anupallavi says. So here we just get the idea of these women gossiping about this girl, saying, "Oh, look at that woman! She's just going off like this to that fellow's house." And who's she? This. Basically, full goss. This is. Then, wait. I will see. Just bring this down. Here is where you use the word of kondanta. Kondanta. Kondanta, like a mountain, as big as a mountain. Kondanta. Navada, mountain like. Kapuram. She has such a big household to run. She has a household as big as a mountain to run. Kondanta Kapurame. Ranu Ponu Komali. Basically, Ranu Ponu again is the idea of, oh, I mean, to come, to go, Ravadam Povadam, no? So she has this palanquin. Komaliki Andalame. Komali is also, you say, oh, this beautiful lass or whatever. Komali Kandalame. Basically, she has this beautiful palanquin and she's married into this high, big Kondanta Kapuram, such big household. And then what is the problem with the husband? Her husband is a victor at war. I mean, what is her problem? Like, he's a Danduna. Danduna is, in the sense, anything to do with, when you say, what is this? Warfare used things are all dandam in some sense. So Danduna is army types in the army. Geliche. Gelavadam is a very common word in Telegu, is to win. Geliche, Gelavadam. In Tamil, what is it called? Anyway, so Geliche, Magadu. Magadu, Mogudu, Mogadu, all of this is very similar. Mulga types. Magadu is particularly husband. Magadu is husband. Magavadu is boy. Magadu, Mogudu is all husband. So here she has his husband who's at war, who is this victorious thing. And Takwa. Ekkuva is more, Takwa is less. Takwa eme. Matlab kya kami hai, literally. This woman has these things. Kami kya hai? Takku eme. Talavrata levariki tappimpa vashame. Talavrata is whatever. Lalata likhitam. Lalata is the forehead. Rata likhitam. Talarata is talarata. In Telugu, there's this idea of saying, instead of saying rata, they say vrata. Talavrata. There's this Karara Priyakriti also. And they say, so pra, instead of pa, they say pra sometimes. Pakkala, prakkala. It's more traditional. Talarata, talavrata. So these are all, for example, in Tamil, if you have to write something, if you have to say Raghavan, you will not say Raghavan, you have to say Iraghavan. Because when you write it, you can't start the alphabet, start the word with a Ra. I mean, there are rules like that in each language. For example, here Talavrata is generally what is written. Praluka, like Prakkala. Praluka, I don't think it's Praluka, sorry. Prakkala instead of Pakkala. When there are rules about if it's ikka and all, you say pra, things like that in language. But anyway, so Talavrata, Talarata. Talavrata evariki. Talavratalu evariki. Talavrata levariki. Talaratalu evariki. Evaru is who? On. Evariki. Tappimpa vashama. Vasham is it possible? Like possible to hold, like we saw last time. For example, you all must have heard that song, no? Vasigara. Vashigaram. To have. Talavrata vashama, is it, can anyone surpass the idea of it? Surpass Talavrata is what these women are saying. Like she has all of these things. Palanquin to go wherever she wants, this big husband, this big family. But eventually, if this is what she wants to do, who can stop her? मतलब कुछ कमी नहीं है, पर इसको यही करना है तो क्या करे? Then it goes on. No, because I'm not presenting because I can't see faces, even mine or others. So which is because I've got on off from my iPad. So anyway. Attamama kondacha. Wait. Kondanta. This is Paita Kongu. Paita Kongu Jarinanu. Jarinanu. Paita Kongu is your palu. Upper cloth, generally this palu that you wear. Jarinanu. Jar, for example, your what is that called? It's called a jar banda. The what is that called? Yeah, where kids play. No, what's that? No, it's not swing. The other thing that you just jump, slide. Yeah,
Slide.
Slide.
I feel so dumb. Anyway, Jari Nanu. Jar Banda is a slide. Because when you think, I'm thinking Tamil words and Telugu words, English is just not coming. So Jar Banda is what is called a slide for the children. So Jar Radhe is Jari is to slip, to slide. Jari. For example, in music, Saba. It's called a Jaru Prayogam. In Muslim, there's in Sampradaya Pradarshini, it's one of the Gamakas. When you Jaru, it's literally to slide. Sa pa. Pa is here, sa is there, but I'm sliding from sa to pa. It's basically that word. I'm just giving you extra context. That's all. Probably
Is
it's
it
not
connected to Jarini or Jara, which is basically immoral?
Probably could be the etymology could be there. It's in which language? Jarini is.
I have heard this word in Sanskrit, but it's also there in one of the Telugu Javadis. Apaduruku. Jarini ene Urivaralu.
Ha, Urivarulu. Urivarulu is the people of the village will talk.
Yes, they are calling me Jarini.
अगर लोग क्या कहेंगे ये भी तुम सोचोगे तो लोग क्या कहेंगे. But anyway, okay, so yeah, it could be that
It's also used in Marathi. The word Jara is also used in Marathi.
in what context?
It has the same meaning. Even in Krishna Kautukam, the word is there. Vallavi Jara.
Well, Jara is basically a person who is immoral, who has
Yes, yes.
relations with multiple women.
Hmm.
Jarini becomes the female counterpart.
Feminine counterpart. Okay, could be that because Jaru, someone who slips, the morality slips, slide of the morality. Anyway, so yeah, it could be that. Thanks. Paita Kongu Jarinanu Teliyaka. Without even knowing that slide that her pallu is going off. Bhayam inchuka leka. Literal also there's no fear. Bhayam is bhayam. Inchuka, even this much. Leka. Leka is not being there. Not there. Leka. Undedi lenidi. For example, Tyagaraja says, Undedi ramudokade. Undedi is to be there. Like he says only Rama is there. So Leka is the opposite of it. The not absence of it. Bhayam inchukayu leka. Even itna sabhi, there is no bhayam. Totivaru. It's like your Urivaru. Totivaru is Urivaru is of the village. Totivaru is specifically who are living with you. Nito kudi unnavaru, basically, who are around you. Totivaru navu durani. Navu is to smile. Even in Kannada, you say nagu, naguva, naguvaga. Nagu, if someone was familiar with.
Then it's what? Nagu Momo is what? That's different.
Nagu Momo is also the same. Nagu is the root word for smile.
Smile.
Momo is Momuju para, so Momo. Nagu Momo, a smiling face. Nagai Chuvai is the tasty comedy in Tamil. For example, if you say Nagai Chuvai Kavide, Nagai Nahuha is to, in actually archaic Sangam Tamil, Nahuha is to smile, laugh, all of that.
So that her sound is her. It's from the guttural, or it's what? It's like
Naguga.
Farsi her, or it is the Nagu.
No, there's no from the epiglottis. No, there's no.
Okay.
No, it's not there. Naguga. But the problem is, again, it's all these, there are these sects of people who just say it differently.
Yes.
Like in Brahmin families, they just want to say it differently. They'll say things like this. So, but actually, if you go back to the written word, it's ga, nagaga. But you just have heard it so many times, it becomes normal to say her. Like sapadrathu, sa, but they say chapadrathu. So small changes. So nagaga is the actual, nagu, yeah. Coming back to it, Navu Durani, Navvatam, Nagu, Nagaichuvai, Naguvaga, all of that is to laugh. So basically, she's saying Totivaru Navu Durani, the one with you, that even without the thing that they will laugh at you, Totivaru Navu Durani, Yenchaka. Yenchaka is to think about. Yenchaka. Ani Yenchiti. Alochana, it's all similar somewhere there. Yenchaka, Tocharate, doesn't it strike her? The people with her will laugh when her pallu slipping away. Even without that Gayali is like a bad word. I think it's also there in other languages. Gayali, no? Like that woman, you know, that Gayali. Vishali was saying something.
Mute. Yeah.
Does it mean Gayali?
Gayali is that, you know, loose character types. So not
Kul-
exactly that. I'm just trying to. There's
Kulta. Like saying kulta.
types. Yeah. Something like that. Gayali, oh, she shouts at everyone. Yo, this guy, I've been married. So you have all these, you know, it's like a dad joke. Like all these, oh, I am married to this Gayali. She's talking.
Okay. So it's more like saying bitch.
I don't want to say it, but yeah.
Not because
Huh.
because
Huh. Like
kulta
she
is more
spits
related to
fire.
character. Yeah.
She spits fire. She's like cut, like keep shouting. The minx, you know. They say she's that minx. She's that. But all these sound very fancy. But yeah, that is the word. Yes, something like that. Like she keeps shouting and. Balu Juti is like this very smart, cunning. This woman is there. No, it's all gossip. This whole padam is gossip only. We both are like literally gossiping about this other woman. Pavam. Anyway, so they're saying this guy Ali, this Balu Juti, this woman like Palu's, she shouts at everyone. This woman, Palu is falling off, but she doesn't care. Everyone's looking and laughing. She that doesn't care. She just comes and goes as she feels. Literally that Abhisarika character types. She's saying. Now, last. Generally in Annamaya's Padam, last is basically you say everyone is God or they say union has happened. Generally in Annamaya's Padam. But also in some sense, they finish the story. Atta, Mava, Bava, Mardudu, all this, her husband's side relatives she's talking about. Mother-in-law, father-in-law, elder brother-in-law, Bava, younger brother-in-law, Maridi, Marudulu, all of that. Yeah, Maridi is that brother-in-law. Titti, Apakirti. Apakirti is Sanskrit word. Titti is tittadam. Titradu, tittadam, all to scold. Marudulanu titti. Unko डांट के. Having scolded them. That she has scolded this mother-in-law, father-in-law, elder brother-in-law, younger brother-in-law, cursing them, bringing them apakirti, infamy, kodigatti, and gathering in, you know, apron, all of this. She's abusing her whole and dismissing all these people off, saying this is that, you're this, because she's what? She's Gayali, you just learned. She's that woman, so she's just disrespecting everyone. And Guttaganu, like for permanently, like a permanent fixture in her life. Muva Gopaluni, Muva Gopal ki ke, whatever that idea of unka, Chei Patti. Che Batti, Cheyi Patti. Cheyi is to hand, is hand, Cheyi. Chei Patti. Patti Vidvarada, Pattuko is literally to hold. Chei Patti. So this woman who's basically abusing, dismissing all these family and garnering all their this thing because she's being a Gayali about it all. And permanently with this Muva Gopala, she's holding that fellow's hand. Kudu. Kudrade we saw then itself the other day. Kudrade is to get together. Kudal is to get together. Kudi is to get together. Kudu Nate. This woman joins him. Him is Muva Gopala. How him holding his hand. Kudu Nate. Adi. Adi is wo aurat. O. Adi. Manisha Mraka. Manishi is human. Manisha question mark. The Manishiya in Tamil, for example. Mraka. Mraka is this unfeeling thing. Is a log. Everyone is saying so many things. Her palu is falling off. Everyone's laughing at her. Her family, husband's family, she has scolded, and they are like asking, "What is wrong with you, woman? Like this Gayali woman, what's the?" But she is this unfeeling thing who doesn't feel anything from this side of the town, basically. And she goes to this other place of Muva Gopala and has this permanent relationship with him. Is she that lady or one unfeeling log? She's asking. Who this gossip woman is asking. Because basically, you can imagine Kshetriya completely in this full Devdasi colony. There are these streets where he's sitting with them talking, and they're basically talking about this other woman who's just going to this rich patron who has money, and they don't have that patron. I'm just imagining, for example, I mean, this is all off syllabus, but you can completely imagine Kshatriyas is sitting with the Devadasis, like, because it is a very common thing to be sitting, and for artists especially, sitting and eating and all of them with Devadasis is a common thing. For example, I still remember my grandmother's uncle, apparently, they used to live in a village in Katakutur. So she would say he was always in the Stevadiyar Teru, and he was a singer. We don't know much of him now. Well, he was not like a big thing or something, a local, whatever, village singer, whatever. So she would say he was lost in that lane. He would be there singing, they dance, talk, poetry. Now we say artist. It was probably the kind of artist lane type. They just go and chill and talk and eat, and there's good food, good entertainment, good talk. So I can completely imagine Kshatriya being in one of those lanes, sitting with these two women, and this other woman who they are jealous of has got this new patron who's very rich, and she's just going off every time, and these guys are at home having nothing to do, bitching about this other girl, saying this woman has so much, so much work to do, literally. So that is the kind of idea I think Kshatriya is trying to bring in here, in some sense. I mean, yes, there's also this, Bhakti, Moha Gopala, Krishna and all is there, but yeah. So, yeah. Oof. Again, 4:30, but yeah. So something like that. Yeah. God, I think I have to really buck up and get my act together and finish it sooner. But yeah, I want to talk 2-3 things, but yeah, let's figure out next class. I'll talk about a few poetic forms probably next time, and another 2-3 poems of Kshatriya, which I also wanted to cover this time, which obviously I don't have time. So next time I'll talk about Annamaya and Kshatriya, what they did have in common, what they didn't have in common, and a few beautiful poems of Kshatriya, because we need to know how out there he was. Yes. Anything? I don't know. I think that's majorly.
Why did both Annamaya and Kshatriya speak from the women's perspective and not from their own perspective, a man's perspective? So was it like specific poems created for clients who came and visited these Devdasis, and that is why they wrote these?
So Annamaya is not always writing from the women's perspective.
So you have Nayak Padams too. Okay.
You have, but the thing is, majorly, this writing from the women's perspective is not new. It has been there forever. Like you have these Namarvar, there are these specific things even in Tamil Sangam period of the 6th, 7th, 8th centuries, where Bhakti poets, the men would write as women, because that is all Purusha, Prakriti, I am woman, you are God, I am female, you are male, all that. That's been there since forever. Now, Annamaya's female voice and Kshatriya's female voice is very different. Say what is different, you have to actually read the poem. I can't say it in words. Like Ivan was talking to Velchuri Narayan Rao, in the sense we have, when you, so there is nothing you can pinpoint, but when you read it, you know.
Yeah.
You see, for example, Annamaya will say, like, for example, there is this, I don't want to start, but there's this beautiful padam about, this woman is on period, blah, blah, blah. So Annamaya is very, like, carefully treading the path, saying, oh, why are you shy? Don't be shy. Oh, this Lord of mine, come to me, make love, blah, blah.
Kshatriya is unabashed about it.
Kshatriya will be like, oh, come to me, you don't know what fun it is when I'm on my period. You really don't know. Have you ever tried? Why are you following rules? Be this naughty boy. Just, sorry, I'm just, but yeah, basically that is Kshatriya. But Annamaya is still, it's like, he says, oh, Ramana, oh, Krishna. Annamaya. Kshatriya is Ayyo. Annamaya also says Ayyo, but I'm just giving an example. But so there's a difference between the women's voices of both Kshatriya and Annamaya, because Annamaya had two women, primarily I would think his two wives for reference. Like Kshatriya, which also I will talk about probably in next class, had a huge experience list. I mean, he had so much to pick from. He was just there. So you have so many voices for Kshatriya than Annamaya in that sense. For Annamaya, it was always Alamela Manga in some sense, He has just put those names. For Kshatriya, it was this, it was that, it was her, it was her, it was them, and also that in Kshatriya. So there were two women, one man, all of that there. So I think it just went off. PG-13, PG-18, all of that, but yeah. So, yes. Yes, anything else? I mean, there's a lot to cover. Probably next class, I'll quickly cover some bits of the poetic styles, probably, instead of script. Let's see, we'll probably figure it out. Yeah. I think basically that's what I had in mind. Anything else? I know we are late, but yeah.
Does anyone has questions? Have questions?
Am I hearing something? Okay. That's all then.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So thank you, Bala.
Thanks.
We'll see each other on the 6th now
Yes.
from
Great.
3 to 4.
Yes. I'm just a quick request of sorts. Next Saturday is the session, no? The last session. I'm just wondering if we can start it at 2.
No. Which session are you talking about?
Antwala, 5th session.
Antwala is on the 11th. It is a Sunday, not a Saturday.
Great, it's on Saturday. Lovely. Great.
Yeah.
Saturday, I have Prahlaji's Kabir Satsang, which I was thinking I'll advance this by half an hour. But anyway, good. Great. Then it's great. No problem. 3 o'clock it is. Super.
Yes.
Any doubts, you can ask Rushali, ask her, she'll ask me, whatever, how you feel like, whatever. Or anything that I need to do differently, anything you need to do differently, anything that I need to say differently. Fast, slow, fast, anything.
Okay.
Namaste, Khuda Hafiz, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
I think